what's important when someone's looking for a good DUI attorney to represent them? What should they look for?
Well, two things. Number one, they should always ask, who is the attorney who's actually going to represent me?
Okay.
Keep in mind that a common industry trick is to take your money and then pass your case down to someone who's not experienced, the young associates. And every time you call, a different attorney will talk to you. And different attorney goes to court for you every time, depending on who's available at that given day. So you want to make sure that you have the person that you paid to represent you. And the second thing you should look for is, does this firm specialize in DUI? A lot of law firms out there will take whatever walks in the door. Divorce, bankruptcy, personal injury, and DUI is just one of the many things that they do. And DUI is a very complicated field with criminal and civil consequences. So you owe it to yourself to have someone who specializes in it represent you.
Okay. Yeah, and it sounds like it'd be very disconcerting if, you know, I hired you to be my DUI attorney and then I talked to someone else the next time, someone else the next time, and the third person, you know, went to court with me. So I understand what you're saying.
Exactly, and you want to keep in mind too that a lot of these attorneys who advertise, they have not stepped into courtroom in years.
Wow.
So you want to hire someone who's good right now, not someone who was good 10, 20 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. The next question is, what percentage of the cases that you've taken on have gone to trial versus settled out of court?
Well, if you're talking about a case that is set for trial and actually goes to trial and up to verdict, I would say less than 5%.
Wow.
But if you're talking about cases that are just set for trial, I'd say about a quarter of my cases will be set for trial at one point or another. And keep in mind that setting something for trial doesn't mean it will go to trial.
Okay. So yeah, a vast majority of the cases never make it to the full trial stage.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Another question, is it wise to take a DUI case to trial, or is it better to settle beforehand? You know, if it's not an unusual set of circumstances, like your normal DUI case.
Well, typically on a first-time case, one of the best strategies on a first DUI is to set it for trial, and here's the reason. Most judges will not punish a first-time offender with no criminal history.
Okay.
So if you go to trial and you lose, you're likely to get the same punishment as if you had pled guilty earlier. So by setting it for trial, you're pressuring the prosecutor to give you a good deal. And some of my best offers have come because I set something for trial.
Really? Okay. Yeah, this may not be a helpful question. It's more a statistical one. But what BAC, what blood alcohol level, is typical for the clients you take on?
Well, if you're over 21, then the legal limit in California is a .08. So almost all of my cases are over .08, because if you blew under or your blood test comes below a .08, you're probably not going to be charged in the first place.
Okay.
So people that come to me have a .08 or greater, and it could go all the way up to a .30 or higher.
Wow. What percentage of your cases are close to that limit versus, you know, like extremely high levels?
Well, I'd say extremely high levels probably accounts for 20%. So 80% of the cases, you're looking at a .08 up to a .19.
Okay. What's your best tip when someone's just been pulled over and they've been drinking? And you know, what should they do? What shouldn't they do at this time?
Well, I actually have 3 tips. Number 1, remain silent. You have the right to remain silent. So remain silent.
Okay.
Number 2, realize that field sobriety tests are optional. You're not required to do them, and you shouldn't do them. Number 3, in California, the handheld breathalyzer test, commonly known as the PASS test, that's optional. So don't do that either.
Really?
Yes.
So if an officer says, you know, have you been drinking or how much you've been drinking?
I have the right to remain silent. I will exercise my right.
Okay, fair enough. What kinds of help can you provide to, you know, DUI defendants? Can you help reduce their time in jail or their fines, or, you know, get them into classes instead of having to go to jail? What kinds of things can you do to help their circumstance?
A lot. Let me just begin by talking about the underlying charge. If we could even get the DUI knocked down to any kind of reckless driving, for example, then you wouldn't have any DMV consequences from the court. In other
Okay.
words, you will not face a license suspension from court.
Okay.
That's important to a lot of people.
Right.
And getting something reduced also means that you have a reckless driving or speeding or something that's not a DUI. That would help you when you apply for a job, apply to school, or whoever looks at your record. And the second thing is we can obviously help people with their licenses. If you request a hearing within 10 days and
Right.
you request a stay of suspension, your license will be valid pending the entire DMV process. I mean, the whole thing
Okay.
could drag on for 6 months easily. So you want to be able to drive while this thing is pending.
Right, because you have
So-
work and other
Yeah,
obligations.
most people don't know that. They just let the 10 days slip and they lose their license. And the third thing is jail. I mean, if we could reduce jail or eliminate jail or convert it to something else, such as home confinement, such as electronic bracelet or community service, I mean, that could save lives. And of course, the final thing is we can get you into a lesser program or eliminate the alcohol program altogether.
Okay.
These programs can last up to 32 months.
Wow.
So, you know, obviously you want to do the shortest program you can, or
Yeah.
no program at all. And most people don't realize if you get the charge even reduced a little bit
Right.
to a reckless driving, for example, you don't have to do a program. It's not a
Okay.
legal requirement. So.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's a lot of different things you can do, and you can help people in, many different ways with their
Yeah.
case. Okay, that's great to know. Very good to know.